Every time you play a song on Spotify, your money drops into one big pot, split between artists by streams. Michael Smith, a musician himself, figured out how to quietly take a chunk of it. He flooded Spotify, Apple Music, and Amazon Music with hundreds of thousands of AI-generated songs, then ran a bot army to stream them billions of times. The trick was keeping each fake song quiet, barely a trickle, so nothing tripped the alarms. At his peak, his bots played that garbage 661,000 times a day. Prosecutors say he drained more than $10 million from the same pool that pays real artists, but before the feds shut it down. 7 years it took them. That pot is the whole scheme, so start there. Every subscription dollar and every ad dollar the streaming services pull in gets poured into one shared fund. Then, at the end of each month, they divide it up by streams. If your songs pulled 1% of all the plays that month, you collect roughly 1% of the money. A single stream is worth a sliver of a cent, so the real money only shows up once the plays run into the billions. That is the model the entire industry runs on. And it works fine right up until somebody figures out how to fake the plays. And that is the flaw Michael found. The pot does not care whether a human being loves your song or a machine is hitting play in an empty room. It counts streams. Rack up enough of them and the money arrives, no matter where the plays came from or whether a single living person ever heard a note. Michael Smith is 54, out of Cornelius, North Carolina. And if you ask me, this one stings because of who he was. Michael made music for real. A working musician. Somebody who knew firsthand what that royalty pot meant to the people trying to scrape a living out of it. He knew, and he built a machine to drain it anyway. His first problem was volume. To pull serious money out of that pot, Michael needed streams by the billion, and no real audience was ever going to hand him that. So he built a fake one. He set up songs he controlled and pointed automated accounts at them. Bots, little programs that do nothing all day but hit play around the clock. Prosecutors say he ran thousands of these accounts, at times as many as 10,000 of them going at once, a whole crowd of listeners that did not exist. And it worked. Prosecutors say that at his peak, the bots were streaming his tracks around 661,000 times a day, and they worked out that it came to roughly $1.2 million a year. A 7-figure income, landing in the account of a man whose entire fan base was software.
As we track the projections from 2017,
now, about that $10 million. Prosecutors say the operation drained more than $10 million out of the royalty pool across the whole run from 2017 to 2024. But when Michael finally admitted what he had done, the number on the paperwork was smaller. He agreed to give back a little over $8 million. The two figures are not the same, and it is worth knowing why. The $10 million is what prosecutors estimate the scheme pulled in total over those years. The $8 million is the specific slice he signed off on forfeiting, the exact figure the government could pin down to the dollar and force him to surrender. Either way, all of it came out of the same fund that was supposed to pay real artists. Michael still had one problem to solve to make any of it stick. Streaming services watch for exactly this kind of thing. If one song suddenly racks up 100,000 plays overnight, an alarm goes off, the account gets flagged, and the money gets frozen. A few giant fake hits would have gotten him caught inside a week. So he did the opposite. Instead of a few songs played a lot, he went for a lot of songs played a little. He spread all those daily streams across thousands upon thousands of different tracks, so no single song ever looked strange. Each one just trickled along. A few plays here, a few plays there. The digital version of skimming 1 penny off 1 million cash registers. And the spread is what makes it work. That daily flood of plays sounds enormous, and it is. But divided across a catalog that big, and each track is only picking up a handful of listens on any given day. That is the exact profile of a real song nobody has stumbled onto yet. which is precisely
Ladies and
why it
gentlemen,
slipped
please
past the
look closely
filters.
at Exhibit A4.
To keep the disguise on,
Details here in case
prosecutors
reference
say
99B are
Michael
critical
gave
to
the tracks
understanding the
randomly generated titles and stuck them under equally fake artist names. So the whole catalog read like an endless scroll of total unknowns. Every piece of it was built to be too small and too boring for anyone to bother checking, which created a brand new problem. To hide his streams across that many songs, Michael needed that many songs to exist in the first place, hundreds of thousands of them. And writing that many real songs is a lifetime of work for an army of musicians. Michael was not sitting around waiting for that. So he turned to artificial intelligence. Around 2018, prosecutors say Michael teamed up with the chief executive of an AI music company and a music promoter, and the three of them started generating tracks by the truckload. Software that spits out a finished song in seconds. At times, up to 10,000 brand new songs in a single month, all of it poured onto the platforms and buried in the same faceless catalog. In one message investigators later pulled, Michael told his partners the quiet part out loud. He said they needed to get a ton of songs fast to work around the anti-fraud rules the platforms were rolling out. That is a man who knew the rules existed, knew he was beating them, and put it in writing anyway. Bold move for a paper trail. If you're enjoying this one, hit subscribe. I dig up a new one of these every week. And every fake stream came straight out of somebody real. That royalty pot is not infinite. It is a fixed amount of money divided by streams, which means every play Michael's bots faked shrank the slice that went to everybody else. The independent songwriter with 400 real listeners. The band that spent a year on an album. The family still collecting on a dead parent's catalog. Every one of them got a little less that month, so a machine in North Carolina could get a little more. He wasn't stealing from Spotify. He was stealing from the exact people he used to call peers. And these are not people sitting on a cushion. Plenty of working musicians are not living off their royalties so much as surviving on them, waiting on a check that already lands thin. Then a piece of that check slipped out the door every month for years, pulled away by songs that no living person ever chose to hear. The ones who lost the most never even found out a robbery was happening to them. There was no smashed window, no alarm, no dramatic break-in. Just a number on a statement that should have been a little bigger. So, how do you catch something built from the ground up to look invisible? Slowly. The same trickle strategy that kept Michael safe also kept him quiet on paper. And for a long stretch, nobody at any single platform saw enough on their own to act. But the streaming services and the industry groups that track royalty payments started noticing the same strange shape from different directions. Gigantic catalogs of songs nobody had ever heard of, by artists who did not seem to exist anywhere else in the world, all pulling steady, modest, suspiciously even numbers month after month. The song titles are what give it away once you line them up. Names that are just strings of random words mashed together. Artist names that read like a password generator having a rough day. Thousands of them, sitting there earning around the clock. I'm not making that up. That was the actual catalog. Investigators pulled the thread. They followed the bot accounts, the bulk fake email addresses used to create them, and the money flowing out to the people churning out all that music. Prosecutors say Michael had leaned on those fake emails and outsourced labor to keep the bot army running, and every account he opened was one more breadcrumb pointing back at him. It took years to map the whole operation. But paperwork does not get tired, and a scheme that runs for 7 years leaves behind 7 years of it. And Michael was not the only name in it. Prosecutors say the chief executive of that AI music company and the music promoter were both part of the operation that flooded the platforms, a little supply chain built to crank out fake songs at industrial scale. Michael brought the plan and the bots. The partners helped bring the raw material, an ocean of tracks nobody ever asked for. The case landed in a federal court in New York. This past March, Michael Smith pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit wire fraud. He admitted to the songs, the bots, the whole machine. He agreed to forfeit that $8 million, and the single charge he pleaded to carries up to 5 years in prison. Prosecutors called it the first case of its kind in the entire country. The first time an American has been criminally charged for using AI-generated music to rig the streaming system. And getting caught was only half of it. Michael became the example, the name every prosecutor will point to the next time somebody tries a smaller, quieter version of the same trick. For a musician, I'll be honest, that is a genuinely bleak way to make history. Years of effort, a whole catalog of fake songs, a company's worth of AI horsepower, and the lasting credit to his name is a federal court filing, which, I guess, is one way to get your music remembered. Michael Smith spent 7 years perfecting the art of being unnoticed. Songs quiet enough to slip the alarms. Streams thin enough to look like nothing. Artists fake enough to leave no trace at all. He built the most forgettable catalog in the history of recorded music, and he did it on purpose. Then, that same machine handed him a spot in the one room he can never be forgettable in again. A federal courtroom, his real name on the docket, giving back the money he pulled out from under everybody who plays for real. Every time you hit play, your money drops into the pot. For 7 years, a steady chunk of it slipped off to a man and his bots. Now it goes back where it always belonged. More stories like this on the channel.